I like to start just thinking about how much shoreline we have on Puget Sound. We've got a lot of it. We've got 2,500 miles, and most of it is sand and gravel beaches, much of it with these big high bluffs behind them. And it's a fascinating system. It's a very complicated system. A lot of the habitat that we're most interested in relies to some degree on that sort of narrow corridor, the beaches and the bluffs themselves along the shoreline. Most of our beaches are part of a fairly complex system where the sand and the gravel that's on the beaches, that makes the beaches, is actually, for the most part, material that eroded from the bluffs somewhere else. When we build bulkheads to prevent erosion, we actually cut off the supply of material to the beaches.
Well, actually, I don't think we set out to remove the bulkhead per se. I'd lived here for a long time with the bulkhead, and it was like an armor, so I was afraid of removing it. And it took speaking with all of the team of professionals that came here to realize that our property wasn't going to fall into the water, that it was stable and it was suitable for the project.
It was all cobblestone before the bulkhead came out, and now it's actually a sand gravel beach, which is much nicer. We can actually use it, and fish or whatever can actually dig into it. And before, it was just all rock, hard rock.
One thing I learned is that the shoreline and the properties that we have are part of a very delicate ecosystem, and that when it's blocked, like it was with the bulkhead, that it can't function properly. And that was something I learned. Maybe by just taking little steps like removing a bulkhead, we can impact Puget Sound in a very positive way.
We contemplated building a stairway down and also putting in a rock bulkhead like some of the neighbors did, but obviously the price was one factor, a big factor, but there was an old stump that had fallen, and subsequent to that a big log came up and landed on the beach, got covered with sand, and suddenly we had a natural bulkhead. And we've watched it carefully over the years, and it's stayed there, it stabilized the bank, and since then more logs have come up, and we don't have a problem with it. If there can be a natural bulkhead with logs or other things, look at that first, and then determine if it's necessary to put in any kind of a bulkhead. The kids like to go down there when the grandkids come by. And,
yeah, they go play on the beach.
They love to go play on the beach, walk down the beach.
Forage fish are important because we're concerned with all the things that eat them, like salmon, marine mammals, seabirds, and even humans. And so our interest in recovering all those species or maintaining those species relies on us having healthy stocks of forage fish. Bulkheads can impact the beach by what we call direct impact. So if the bulkhead is low enough on the beach, it can actually just be built on top of where the forage fish would normally want to spawn. So that's a direct habitat loss. That habitat's no longer accessible to those forage fish to spawn on. Also, bulkheads are often associated with removal of the overhanging vegetation, and so we lose the shade that helps to protect those eggs. Bulkheads can also change the substrate. They can influence where the substrate comes from and where it goes, and so if we don't have the right mix of sand and gravel on the beach anymore, that habitat quality has been changed.
You're always looking for sort of some types and different kinds of ways that you can either protect a structure or keep something out of harm's way while also allowing the beach to continue to do its thing. Most bulkheads are fairly small projects in themselves, but those small projects over the last 100 years have added up to about a third of our shoreline. So it does add up. Those impacts add up. Similarly, if you take them out, each individual one may affect the beach in its local area. It may not have a huge effect in itself on Puget Sound, but cumulatively, it may. And what's sort of exciting in the last few years is we've actually seen a lot of these projects going on. A lot of shorelines in Puget Sound are going to remain bulkheaded. The houses are there. There's a jeopardy. No one's going to pull those out. But there are places where we can, and we've actually seen some really neat examples where people have pulled structures out, and most people are saying, wow, they like the beach better than they liked it before.
Yeah, would we do it again? I would, yeah. I think the beach is coming out very nice. Another year, and it'll be almost restored to its natural beauty.
The original house was built in 1910. My dad retired, wanted to build a gazebo, put in the bulkhead, built the gazebo. My mom and dad have since passed, and the property has been divided. Now you're not on the beach, you're above the beach. It's fun to have the beach and be a nice transition. This is an abrupt bulkhead that there isn't any transition. This is something that my daughter has already said. I look forward to inheriting this property, to have that legacy passed on with a clean environment is really important to me. Because if you don't know how it was, you may not have that same vision. Whereas when my grandkids are playing here, they will know it as an integral part. The upland and the beach, it's all integral and part of it, and leaving that legacy.